Okay, let's go on to the Babylonians. The Babylonians are kind of trickery-dickery. You had a bunch of crazy homework problems, but I tried to delete the awkward ones. Okay, Babylonians use base 60. So let's go back and review. Remember, in the English language, Hindu Arabic, we use base 10s. We played around and we used a base 5 at one point, and we also played around and used a base 4 at some point. Well, Babylonians just have base 60. So instead of this 4 to the third, 4 to the squared, 4 to the first, 4 to the 0, it's going to be 60 to the 3, 60 to the 2, 60. Okay, let me write this down. So what that means is the ones digit is actually 60 to the 0. The tens is 60 to the 1. The hundreds is 60 to the 2. The thousands is 60 to the 3. And then I think that's as much as we need to go. Okay, so the point is we're base 60, as in the things we're going to attach are 60s with numbers in the air. Okay, so first let's just do an example. Let's say I got this looking sucker. And I want to expand it using base 60 and then convert it to Hindu or Arabic. And that sounds crazy, but basically we're just doing this problem all over again. We're expanding it with the times, and then we're converting it by just doing that math super quickly to get base 10. The only thing is, instead of starting with numbers, we start with a picture. Ugh. Okay, well first, in Babylonian numerals, if you have a space, that means you don't have to put anything there. You put a 0. And I know this looks like there's supposed to be a space in between them, but they're not. They're super close to each other. There we go. They look super close now. Okay, so first what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what this weird looking alligator looking thing is. And that weird looking alligator thing is a 10. Okay, then this little V looking thing, those stand for Juans. So that means +1, +1, +1. So 10 comes from that weird alligator. The ones come from that up and down V. And if you add that, you get 13. Okay, then this is where we're going to take this 13 and multiply it times 60 to the 0. If I would have had 2 sets of symbols, then the first set I would multiply by 60 to the 1, and the second set I would multiply by 60 to the 0. So since this is just one big set, there's no spaces in between, I'm going to attach from the right, as in 60 to the 0. So 13 times 60 to the 0 is actually just 13. Okay, let's do another one with a space, because that's what's probably going to confuse us. Okay, let's say I have VV plus alligator and then 4 V's. Oops, okay. And this plus is not supposed to be a plus, it's just supposed to be a space. There we go. Okay, so first we're going to decode these just using the symbols. So for these first 2 suckers, these 2 V's look like 1 plus 1, that's 2. Then over here on the right, it looks like we got an alligator of 10, and then plus 4 of these little V's. So that makes 14. And then now we're going to convert it to base 10. So the one on the very right, we're going to attach the 60 to the 0. The one before it, we're going to attach the 60 to the 1. And then we add all those up. I think this first sucker gives me 120. The second one gives you 14. And that gives you 134. Woohoo! Let's do another one with some spaces. Let's slide over here and let's try, let's just add another sucker on this. Let's say we got this. So we got 3 pieces. So that means we're going to use the 60 to the 0, 60 to the 1, and 60 to the 2 for sure. But let's go ahead and write down what these symbols mean. So these weird alligators mean 10s, and there's 2 of them. So that's 20. Then this middle sucker is a 10 and 4 1s. So that's 14. This last sucker is 2 10s and 2 1s. That makes 22. Okay. Now we're going to connect it all together by attaching the base 60 part. So for this 22, we're attaching the 60 to the 0. Then for the 14 before it, we attach the 60 to the 1. Then for the 20 before that, we attach the 60 to the 2. So when you attach from the right to the left. 60 to the 0 goes on the very right. 60 to the 1, then 60 to the 2. It's kind of bass-backwards how we do it. Okay, this first sucker is 72,000. The second one is 74. And the last one is 22. And when you add those, you get 72096. Woohoo! Okay, let me try and do one that's kind of bass-backwards. I'm about to do one that we don't really have room for, but I still really want us to do it. Let's say I just give you the number 210, and I want to write it as the Babylonians did. Okay, well, if I want to write it as the Babylonians did, it's kind of like we're going bass-backwards. So it's like we're starting with this 13 and saying it's 13 times 60 to the 0. Then we're breaking that down and popping out the symbols. So first we have to figure out which one of these describes 210. Well, let's see here. 60 to the 0 is just a 1. 60 to the 1 is 60. 60 squared is like 3,600 or something. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what is the biggest one of these numbers that we can divide 210 by. So again, this 60 to the 0 is just a 1. 60 to the 1 is 60. 60 to the 2 is 3,600. 60 to the 3 is, I don't know, something really big. Okay, I ran out of room. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to figure out whether this 1, 60, or 3,600 can divide into 210. Which one can divide into 210 evenly? Well, 210 divided by 3,600, that's not pretty. Ooh, it's a decimale, so I don't want to do that one. Let's try 210 divided by this 60 to the 1, which is 60. So 210 divided by 60 is something like 3-ish with a remainder. Okay. So we're going to say that this 210 is 3 times 60 to the 1. And let's see where I got that. Well, 210 cannot be divisible by 3600. So that's 60 squared. So I did not attach the 60 squared. But 210 can divide it by 60. 210 divided by 60 is like 3-ish. So I said 3 times that 60 is 60 to the 1. But then how many is left over between whatever 3 times 60 is and 210? So let's see here. 3 times 60 is 180. Okay. So what's the difference between 180 and 210? How far away are they from each other? 210 and 180. Those are like 30 away. So we'll say plus 30 times 60 to the, what power goes on the right every single time? 0. So it's it right as Babylonian. Okay, well, we started to, but we didn't quite get to it. Let's finish it. This says 3 times 60 to the 1. So 60 to the 1 is the 60 to the 1s is the 10s. And 3 just means 3 of these little up and down B's. Yeah. Then 30, how do we write 30? We could either use 30 up and down B's or 3 side to sides. So I think I'm going to do 3 side to sides. And then that right there is my Babylonian. Make sure you put some space in between. So I have VVV, then there's a small space, and then the weird 3 sideways alligators. And that space takes into account the plus sign. That's when we change from 60 to the 1 to 60 to the 0. Okay, so we've done Roman, Babylonian. Now let's go to Egyptians. Okay, Egyptians are actually really easy to understand. We don't have to do anything crazy. As you can see, the numbers underneath the symbols all have 10s in them, because Egyptians are base 10 also. So we don't have to do a bunch of crazy stuff for Egyptians. It's super easy. Like for this part C sucker, it looks like there's 2 little bent fingers, or 3 little bent fingers. So that's 3 times the bent fingers are 10,000. And then you do plus sign. What's this weird little, oh, that's 100. And there's 1 of those. So 1 times 100. And there we go. This should be 30,100. So Egyptian would be these 3 bent fingers with a little squiggle. Hindu Arabic, what we do today, is 30, 100. Or let's say we have another one. Let's do oh gosh, 3 of these. My pictures aren't that good. Okay, and then a couple humps. How about 4? And then how about some sticks? Okay. So let's see here. There are 3 of these weird flower looking things, and those are worth 1,000. So I'm going to say 3 times 1,000. Plus there's 4 of these little humpers, and those humpers look like they're worth 10. Then there's 4 little sticks, and those sticks are worth 1. So that makes 3,044. Egyptian is my favorite because it's so simple. It goes with Hindu Arabic really nicely. Okay, let's look at Mayans. Mayans are kind of weird because if we remember back to Babylonians, if there was a space left and right, that meant you had like a plus sign where that space was, or you had 2 different pieces of information, or like on this example, we had 1, 2, 3 sets with 2 spaces in between. So that means we had 3 sets of things being added. Anyway, the point is we read it left to right. Well, in Mayans, they group them up, down. They put them on top of each other. Okay, so this is what all these mean, okay? And it says you must read the symbols from the top down, not left to right. The top group stands for base 20. The bottom group stands for base 1. So for Mayans, if we were making up our little place value chart of 1s, 10s, 100s, thousands. Yeah. Okay, so 1s, it said Mayans are base 20. So 1s would be 20 to the 0. 10s would be 20 to the 1. Hundreds would be 20 to the 2. Thousands would be 20 to the 3. Okay. So instead of base 4, 5, 10, or 60, we're on 20s now. Okay. If we look at this little example, first we look at the top group, the stick with the 3 dots on it. And sticks with 3 dots means stick with 3 dot 8. Okay. Then the second group underneath it is 3 sticks with a dot, and 3 sticks with a dot means 16. Okay. But the top group stands for the highest digit, and the bottom is the lowest digit. So the bottom, I'm going to attach times 20 to the 0. And the top, I'm going to attach times 20 to the 1. So we're going to have 8 times 20 to the 1. And that came from the top. Plus 16 times 20 to the 0. And that came from the bottom. And then let's do the math. I think for this top, we get 160. And then the bottom, 16 times, that's just 16. So we get 176. Yay. So the Mayan symbols are these things, and they mean 176 in our counting system. Okay, let's do this sucker. Okay, it looks like there's 2 groups again. So we got a stick with 3 dots, and sticks with 3 dots mean 8. And then we have to times it by something. Then plus, let's see, the next group is 3 sticks with 2 dots. That means 17 times. And then now we just have to figure out what we're going to multiply by. Well, the one on the very right always has the 20 to the 0. It always has the to the 0. The next one, the 8, is the 20 to the 1. And that would be, let's see, 160 plus 17. I think that's 177. Yay. Okay, so we've learned Mayan, and they go top down, and they have base 20s. We've learned Hindu Arabic, which is us, and we're base 10s. Then we learned a little bit of base 5, a little bit of base 4, and some also really janky symbols.